Good morning. Good morning. Hi. I just coming on live. Good morning. How's everyone? I wanted to just kind of talk about determination of death. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I see a lot of people doing videos on DMX, and he's on life support, of course. And but I'm coming from a place of the Journal of Medicine and Philosophy. And good morning if you're just joining in. But I'm coming from a place, it's from the Journal of Medicine and Philosophy. And the reason why I came on is because my family and I, we experienced this several years ago. My youngest brother, his firstborn son, passed away. They had to actually take him off of life support. He actually didn't have any brain activity. And so him and the baby's mother, his baby's mother, the mother of the child, had to take him off of life support. And my second oldest brother, he also, in 2013, he was taken off of life support. And the thing was is that in the state of Illinois, where my oldest brother was receiving treatment and residing, they have a mandate. There's a law there. And so one of the states is Illinois. And so we didn't really have a choice. I guess you could fight it, fight it, fight it, but we didn't have a choice when it came to my oldest brother. And my youngest brother, him and the mother of his child, they actually made the decision because they didn't want to put their son through that. And so the determination of death and the death donor rule from the Journal of Medicine and Philosophy, there has been a lot of controversy on how they came about to determine this. So all 50 states have adopted by law the neurological criteria for determining death, whether by statute, regulation, or judicial decision, because some people may not understand, the determination of death. So, a lot of speculation about what the family should do. And I no way can speak for DMX family. I can only speak for my family. And so when I live out of state, I don't live in the same state as my brother did. So when this came about, I was actually in the state I reside in, and I actually contacted the hospital because I didn't know. I was not familiar with the laws, of the state on, when someone is brain dead. So I wanted to challenge that because I was like, how would you know? Because we're coming from a place that, my family, we're very spiritual. We believe in God. We believe in the word of God. And so we were coming from that place of who are you to determine, who are you to determine that my brother should be taken off life support? How do that he's brain dead? So we came with questions like that. And so so they told me, he is brain dead, but we're going to run some more tests. And they do give some time to see if there will be some brain activity occurring. They do run the test. And that's what happened with my brother. And I said, well, we believe in God. And so who are you as man to have the final say? This is what I was saying. And they told me because, in the state of Illinois, that is, a mandate. That's a law there. And so I respected that law. And it wasn't hard, it wasn't easy for us to, to deal with this, as far as my brother passing on, being taken off life support. That wasn't easy. And he had a wife at the time, rest in peace now her, but he had a wife at the time. And so, but my mother is still living. So he was a big part, of our family. He was a police officer that was disabled. He had retired. And so he had a lot of health issues that came along with the job of being a police officer in East St. Louis, Illinois, if anyone has heard of East St. Louis, Illinois. So he did, he got taken off of life support. And he made a big impact in the city of Illinois, East St. Louis, Illinois. He was a big factor. He worked with children with the DARE program. He got a lot of awards for how he interacted with the citizens of that city. He was a good cop. He was a good detective. He wasn't a dirty cop. He gave a lot of chances. He did things for humanity, and he was rewarded for those things. And we had to look at all the things that he did and the accomplishments that he made, and how he was sent out of town to different type of award ceremonies to receive an award, so he had a lot of accolades. So we looked at his life, and we looked at, how he was a troubled young man growing up in youth. He was troubled, but he turned his life around. He went into the police academy and he lived out the rest of his life doing good for others. And so sometimes we have to go back and look at what did that person accomplish? What can we celebrate if we choose to go ahead and accept what God is already talking to us and speaking to us on? And then sometimes we don't know. So prayer can give us the answers that we need when we go to Christ. He can give us those answers on what we should do when we are undecided about someone that doesn't have brain activity and they're laying in their hospital bed, and all you could do is cry and pray and sing songs of worship and Zion to them and read scriptures and pray over them and hope that they come back. Those are some things that, we go through, and we don't want to see our loved ones laying there lifeless, with no brain activity, no wondering if they actually hear us and do they understand us, but just cannot respond. So it is important that people understand, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it says all 50 states have adopted by law the neurological criteria for determining death, whether by statute, regulation, or judicial decision. By adoption of the Uniform Determination of Death Act, these laws recognize total brain death or the irreversible cessation of all functions of the entire brain, including the brainstem, as a valid criterion for death. The standard rationale for this criterion is that since death is the breakdown of the organism as a whole and the functioning of the brain is necessary for the integration of the various cells, tissues, and organs into a single organism, total brain death is the death of the human being. And that's Lee 2015. He's a scholar. And to stop right there, my youngest brother, like I said, him and his son's mother had to determine what to do after he had a heart attack. They had to determine what to do. And he was only 26. He was young. He hadn't really lived out his life because he was born with some heart conditions. Good morning, Harlem. How you doing? Thank you so much for entering in and greeting. Thank you so much. And I'm just talking about if you're just joining, about determination of death and what my family went through, my youngest brother, and our family with my second oldest brother. And so I'm talking about this because I think it's important for people to understand that may not know all of the controversy around DMX right now, and the fact that the family will have to make a decision. But I was talking about this because we went through it, and we didn't have really a choice unless we challenged it. And he had a wife, and the wife wasn't challenging it. In the state of Illinois, where my brother was, an inpatient at a hospital, and he didn't have brain functioning. And so they did test. They ran the test, and they had to. The hospital told us when I challenged it. Of course, I'm going to ask questions and everything. And so they did tell us that they would run the test. And just to recap of this, run the test, and from there they have so many days that, and then they take him off of life support. So for my brother, he was taken off of life support. Now for my youngest brother, they actually made the decision. Him and his the daughter, the mother of the child, made the decision because they had their son when they were teenagers. And so he was 26 and he was taken off of life support. So I would never try to speak for DMS family and friends and what they're going through right now. But like I said, I wanted to come on and talk just for a little bit about the determination of death. And so there were a lot of challenges during that time on what should happen. And again, coming from a place of a spirituality and God family, and my family is very spiritual, and and have always served the Lord. And so, we came from a place of, who are you to determine when someone's life is ending? Who are you to take our loved one off or child, off of life support? Who are you to make that final determination? And so those were questions like that. But when we looked at the law, and yes, it's a very hard decision. And when we looked at the laws and we listened to the clinicians and the physicians talk to us about what was going to happen and what the laws were, we had to go to God in prayer, and we had to reflect over my oldest brother's life and the impact that he made on his life, on other people's life, in the work that he did. And even outside of being a detective, he actually did a lot of good community things, and he sang. He was a musician. He could write songs and he could sing, and he helped a lot of people and he touched a lot of lives. And when I go back and I think about everything that he went through, and how he touched people's lives, we have to pray about it. And it gave us peace to know that maybe it is time for him to go on to glory. He's tired. He's tired of suffering. And sometimes we have to hear what our loved ones say before they go on, because my brother said he was tired, and he was tired, and you could tell he was tired. He was tired of suffering and diabetes and heart condition. He had a kidney problem. He was going to dialysis. And so we looked at all those things, and so sometimes we have to make that decision that, it's not our decision. It's up to God, and we got to give it to God, and we got to pray about it, because God's going to give us what we need in due time. He's going to give us a peace of mind. He's going to heal our broken heart. But we can also celebrate the life that our loved ones had when they were on this earth, and the type of good that they did. And he left behind some children. But when I look at this, it says there are some landmark United States Supreme Court cases that would be relevant in a legal analysis of proposal to abandon the DDR. And there were some families: Cruzen versus Director, Vaco versus Quill, Washington versus Glucksburg, Gonzalez versus Oregon, and in regarding Quinlan. So there were people that did, take it to the Supreme Court as far as what they were going to do about their loved ones. But traditionally, this event was defined as having taken place when all major organs, systems of the body cease to function. The heart, lungs, and the brain being so interdependent that the death of one of the components will rapidly lead to the death of others when the individual lacks cardiac and respiratory support systems. This is what they're talking about. But then, however, in the mid 20th century saw the advent of respirators, defibrillators, organ transplantation, and other technological advancements that began to call into question society's understanding of death. And that's Pauner, Ackerman, and Grenvik. So I always want to give credit to where the information is coming from. And it goes on to say, but I want to get down to the determination of death statuses, because I'm not going to hold you long. It says all 50 states have recognized the concept of brain death as a matter of law, whether by statute, regulation, or judicial decision. However, there exist many variations among their treatment of the subject, starting with the statutes governing determination of death. 38 states have adopted the Uniform Determination of Death Act, that's UDDA, word for word or with very similar wording. These states include Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina. Did I say Oregon? Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and Washington. And then the 9 other states: Connecticut, Florida, Hawaii, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, New Jersey, and Texas have also adopted the UDDA with the express qualification that the neurological criteria for death may only be used where an individual's respiratory and circulatory functions are maintained by artificial means, a status that is perhaps inaccurately termed life support. All other deaths must be determined solely due to irreversible cessation of circulatory and respiratory functions. While this language may not have medical significance, it could have political or policy significance in the legislative process or in informing a court's decision-making process. And so when you look at, what could happen in this case with DMX, I give them, empathy and sympathy and prayer at this time. And I think it's important to lift up the family in prayer, and, to know that God is in control of everything. And if we turn it over to Jesus, he will work everything, and listening to him in prayer and discernment, being coming from a place of experiencing both situations, with a youngest brother that had to do it with one of his children, and then with my mother, and the wife was, she was there, so she had power of attorney because she was his spouse. And so, when we look at these things, a lot of people can speculate on what family should do, but it's not an easy decision. But when you go to God in prayer and you believe in what God's going to do, and you look back over the person's life and all the good that they did, and I remember DMX singing his songs, and praying and all those different things. Although I didn't listen to his music on a regular basis, but I, knew of him. I was familiar with him, and so when I look back over the brother's life, he battled some things from childhood, and he went through some things, some hardships. And when I look back at child abuse and all these things that he went through, he suffered a lot. And sometimes people never recover from trauma. And sometimes, in the Black community, people don't want to see the mental illness that go on. And in no way am I saying he was mentally ill, and I want to be straight on that. But I'm saying that in the Black community, when people go through child abuse, severe trauma, and all types of other traumas, and devastations in their life, sometimes if they never get the treatment that they need as a child, they suffer, and it can go as an adolescence all the way into adulthood. And PTSD is a most common diagnosis in making now, whereas they used to put it as a personality disorder and send you on your way, that you didn't belong, you didn't fit in, and that, and people didn't like you. And children, they have to be treated at a young age. When they go through emotional abuse and child abuse, they have to be treated. Even if it's sexual trauma, it has to be treated, and they have to diagnose the child at a young age to get the therapy that they have, because it can hinder the cognitive function, psychology, their psychological functioning. All those things can harm and hinder a child from growing up to be a healthy adult and live a productive life. And also, there's withdrawals that they go through, and isolation, and they feel hopeless. Those are a lot of things that go on when a child is not given treatment or therapy for child abuse and assault and different things like that. And right now, my capstone project for school is PTSD and suicide. And because I understand very well, that that people are suffering in our community, and no, and people get there's a stigma behind PTSD, and so people want to turn it away and say, oh, they just are angry, they just got this. But when you start to see signs in your family member, you have to be encouraging. And a person that's been diagnosed, a confirmed diagnosis with PTSD, and this is not on PTSD, but I'm just saying, using this as an example, in the Black community, where there's a lot of mental illness. It's high, and it's on the rise, and people don't get the treatment that they need, either because they don't have health insurance, or maybe they can't get to the appointments, or they feel there's a stigma there, and they don't have the support. That's one thing that's important, is to have family support when you go to get treatment, so people understand what it's all about. Hello, good morning, Chris. And what it's all about. And so, being the fact that he suffered so much in his childhood, and then being able to be a rapper and things like that. And they said that he was given drugs. He stated that in an interview, he was given drugs by a mentor. And we, as older people, have to teach the younger people, and we have to walk upright, because if we are not walking upright, how can we be an example for others? How can we be an example to the younger people if we are not an example for ourselves to lead children in the right direction that they need to go? Because it says, train up a child in the way they should go, and they'll never depart. And so we, as older people, have to set that example for the younger people. And so, we have to let young people know that when older people are giving you drugs, or older people are doing this and that, and it's not right, run for your life and tell somebody about it. Don't go and treat your children to have a firm foundation and that they don't have to go along with things, even if it's an adult telling them things, because we somewhere have to take a stand and accountability to be better and do better for the children that we're raising and bringing up, whether they're your children or you are a mentor in the community or you are a leader in the church or you are raising your grandchildren or you're a part of something, youth group or whatever it may be. So it's so important that we take a stand and that we walk upright and be that example and that beacon, so that God has called us to be, and let our light shine in the lives of other people that are struggling. We just cannot overlook this mental illness that continues to plague our community. And that's one thing that when it came down to seeing what goes on in the community, and I chose to write on this topic, PTSD and suicide ideation. And my professor said, when he gave me my response back, he said, this is a very interesting topic. And being that I had a brother that took his own life and he committed suicide at 21, and I'm telling you, he had some things that he was battling coming back from the military, but he had trouble before he even went in. He battled some things. And so when I look at the situation and I go back and look at 17, seeing, knowing that my son did it, I mean, my brother took his life. I didn't go to see him, but one of my other brothers did and cut him down because he couldn't bear seeing him hanging. And all I'm saying is that we got to do better as Black people. And there's no disrespect here with DMX, because I sympathize and empathize with the torment and the abuse that he suffered as a child. But it doesn't appear that he got the help he needed. And he went into adulthood, and someone then gave him these drugs or whatever happened as a teenager. And then he went into adulthood, and getting back to, we got to make a decision. And I think the best way to make that decision is go in prayer and go to God in prayer and ask the Lord to give you guidance when you're going through a situation such as his, being on life support and no brain activity. Ask the Lord to give you discernment on what he wants you to do, and then reflect on the person's life. What good did they do? Did they help folks? What life did they lead? And they touch many people's life. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. They touch APC. Good morning. They touch people's lives, and DMX touched a lot of people's lives, and you can see the lives that he touched. And it's like we are losing another Black man, and we've seen so many losses, and it's not easy. It's not easy continuing to lose Black men, and we we see so much in society with our Black men struggling so much, and all because of the color of their skin. And when we go back and reflect, on these things, and we look at it, we don't want to let go, because we just don't want to lose another Black man, and one that was talented, that was spiritual. And we say that God's gonna, they're gonna be taken too soon, and but we got to give it to God, and we got to ask God, because God is the only one that can determine their life. Did they lead, even if they're young, but did they do enough? See, God's going to be the one to give the crown. He's going to give the one, and in the end, he's going to get the glory. So we got to give it over to God. And no, it's not easy, and we're going to shed a lot of tears. And every year we're going to shed probably tears on the anniversary, and but we can do some things to celebrate their life, their grave site, and think about the if they made videos and family gatherings. Think about all the good things that person did, and go back and look at those things when stuff like that happens. But again, there are laws in place for how long in some states that someone can stay on life support when there's no brain activity, after they've did a thorough run of testing, diagnostic testing on that patient. I will say patient or individual or that family member. When they've done a thorough investigation of running those tests, right, Chris, absolutely, then they will make a decision if it falls up under one of those states that, the right to determination of death. And so it's not easy, but I wanted to read this scripture because I'm not going to keep you all long, but it says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13 through 14. This is in the NIV, and it's my Bible Promises for Life book, the ultimate handbook for your every need. And it says, brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. And so that's one of the scriptures, one of the scriptures. And then the other one is this right here, is that no, this one right here, for our dying bodies must be transformed into bodies that will never die. Our mortal bodies must be transformed into immortal bodies. Then, when our dying bodies have been transformed into bodies that will never die, this scripture will be fulfilled. Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 53 through 55, and that's the NLT. So, my brothers and sisters, talking to you today, I pray for DMX family that God will give them peace right now, that God will give them a strength that will rise up, and that they will have discernment on the decision that whoever is responsible for making that decision, whether it's the ex-wife, the fiance, or the children, as a whole or individual, however it goes, that God will give them peace in the midst of this storm, in the midst of this uncertainty, in the midst of this. See, sometimes people have guilt because we look back and we go, well, what if I say, okay, we made the decision to take our loved one off for life support, but then what if they still gonna live? That's the difficult decision right there, is what if they still could have lived? We don't know. God has the final say, and God is going to determine what type of life that they led, and is it sufficient enough for God for him to call them home, or does he still have work for DMX to do? I look at it like that. If God has more work for him to do and to touch more people's lives, then that's a decision that God already holds in his hand. He already holds the future in DMX hand. We don't know, but God does. So, we don't know, is his work finished on earth or is it not? We don't know. So that's why it's good to turn it over to Jesus, and give it to Jesus, and let Jesus work it all out. And in the meantime, we can go to God in prayer and comfort, and we can stand on the promises and the protection of God, that he's going to get us through, even if it's a decision that we don't agree with. But guess what? God can give us comfort through the Holy Spirit. He can help us through it. He can heal a broken heart, and he can still be with us even through our tears, because joy comes in the morning, and we can go to bed, and we can wake up, and it's a new day. And so today is a new day. And so we just look to Christ, and we just lift up that family right now, and just give them, empathy and understanding. And if you've never been through having to take someone off of life support, you may not understand it all. But my family, we've been through it twice, and even a suicide, as I was saying. And so God is an awesome God, and he's a holy God. So when I come on and I speak and I do all these different videos, I don't speak from an opinion, more or less. I speak from experience and what the things I've been through, and the things that my family and I have been through, and having someone that was on drugs, that someone gave them drugs when they were, I believe, 17 or 18, and they got hooked on drugs by an older family member, and they were incarcerated for 14 years, and they just got out of prison. I'm telling you what I've experienced, and he's doing well now, and he's working, and he's in school. But let me tell you, prayer changes things, and I can't talk about nothing that I haven't been through. So when I talk about these things and I come on here and talk, believe me, I can write a book about my life and the things I've suffered and my family has been through. And I haven't chose to write a book, but I can write one, and no one can tell your story but you. But at the end of the day, we know that our Black men are suffering, and they've suffered for a long time. And there's a lot of mental illness in the Black community, and not just with our Black men, but with Black women. And we have got to do better to recognize the signs, be there for our family members. Don't judge them and don't talk about them, but hold their hand and walk with them through the storm, and let them know, I'll go with you. You don't have to go alone, because see, Jesus never allows us to walk alone. So if we're going to be more like Christ, then we don't want our family members that are suffering to walk alone. We got to be encouraging. We got to be loving. We got to give them that family and social support that they need to get through the storm. And so I encourage you today that if you know of some ones that you can help, walk with them, be with them, and hold their hand and encourage them along the way. Let them know that their life means something to them and that they're valued, and encourage them to live out their values. Because when a person is suffering mental illness, one of the things is hopelessness. They don't have hope. They feel that everything, they lost everything, and they give up hope, and they don't feel that they mean anything to anybody. And we have to let them know that you mean the world, and God still needs you to do a work, to be a beacon of light and hope for somebody else, and to help somebody else get through it. These are the things that we need to talk about our family members, so that they don't go and feel that they need to get on drugs, and feel that they need to drink a bottle of alcohol and get hooked. We need to talk to them, and whatever is going on, let them know, I'm available, and I won't judge you, but I'll love you. Because see, God has a listening ear for all of us, and God is he has open arms for all of us, and his love it stretches wide, and it's abundance, and it's immeasurable. We can't even measure the love that God has for his people. And no matter what you've done, no matter what you've done, good morning, Georgia girl, no matter what anybody has done, God forgives, and he still loves us, and he don't want to see anybody perish. God wants to heal your broken heart today. He wants to love on you. He wants to let you know that you're valuable to him, that you're worthy. He wants to let you know that he'll walk with you, and he'll be with you, and he'll talk with you. But you just got to give it to him. And there is nothing that's too hard for God. You can turn it over to him. He's not going to judge you. He's not going to violate your trust. He's going to be right there in the midst of the storm. You just got to trust him and know that he's right there. And so with the DMX family, God is with you. Listen to God. Hear from God. He is with you in this uncertain times. He's with you. And so if you just turn it over to him and hear from him, he will do what he's going to do. And he can give you peace in this time of uncertainty. And whatever decision that you make, stay in prayer. Don't give up, because God is going to see you through it. And each and every one of us that have joined the chat, and who's going to share this video, and who's going to listen to it, whatever losses that you have suffered and endured, even back with the COVID and still going on, and whatever, cancer, whatever it is, God can give you peace through it all. He can heal your broken heart, and all, you can reflect back on the good that they did and the great times that you had, and celebrate their life. God is good. He's awesome, and he's mighty. And I've been watching, this, and I was like, I don't really know what to say. I don't want to come on and say the wrong thing and disrespect anybody, and the people that idolized or they loved DMX. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And God he gave me a message this morning to come on and talk about it. But we also have to look at, the laws of the states when it comes to determination of life. We have to look at the laws in the state, and what does the laws of the state say? And that's where I had to go, and that's where God sent me. And so, like I said, I've been through it. My second oldest brother was in Illinois as an inpatient, and he was brain dead. And again, coming from that place of, who are you to decide? And I think that's the thing that we look at. Who are you to decide? But God has the final say. And we respect doctors, we respect clinicians, we respect, and we have to respect the laws that are in place. But we also know that if it's not done according and aligned with God's will, then we have to go to God. And we can challenge what we need to challenge if it's not done according to the biblical statutes of what God has aligned for us. But we can rest in peace and assured that we know that God's got us no matter what, and he'll hold us up. He'll hold us up, even in our brokenness, even when we haven't done the things that God has called us, even when he told us to go right and we went left. God still loves us. He loves us tremendously. And, some people might say, well, everybody doesn't believe in God. Well, that may be true. And some people will say, well, I'm an atheist. I heard someone say they were an atheist, but they were steady talking about miracles. So at some point you believed. And I just don't believe in that atheist stuff. People can talk all day long, but if you're speaking about miracles, God can do miracles. He can do exceedingly and abundantly. So when you talk about miracles, you're really talking about Christ. You can't convince me that you're an atheist when you're talking about miracles. It has nothing to do with integrity. And this person was trying to say, well, I walk in integrity, but I'm an atheist. But I know that God can do miracles. She was speaking. It was on another platform about the situation with Mr. DMX, Mr. Earl Simmons, and she was speaking about that. But I'm saying to myself, right, miracles. God can do miracles. He performs miracles day in and day out, and God can do a miracle right now. He could do a mighty thing. But again, it's up to God. Has he lived his life? Has God used him? Is it time for him to wear his crown? We don't know, but God can do exceedingly and abundantly. And anybody that's in this chat or anybody that's facing some losses or have faced some losses, he can heal your broken heart. And you already know the ones that are believers that God can do exceedingly and abundantly. And he can do what he wants to do. But God already has our future laid out. He already has a plan for our future. And we know that. And our history is not our destiny. Our history is not our destiny. And that's the thing that people need to understand when they start talking about, I heard some people say, well, he had a choice. We all have choices and we make mistakes. We fall down and we get up. And he fell down a lot and he got up. He fell down a lot, he got up. So we know that because even when he came out of incarceration, and he was still doing some things, but it's in the hands of God. God is in control. God is in control. And we thank God each and every day. We thank him on today. And in the end, God's going to get the glory. Not man, woman, boy, or girl, but God's going to get the glory. And we lift up his children to him. We lift up his children because, again, like I said, my second oldest brother left behind some children, him and his wife. And actually, his wife passed away after him. And so they don't have parents. And so, but we lift up the ones that have lost loved ones, and we still lift up the ones that are battling or struggling and undecisive and uncertain about the future of their loved one that's in a hospital bed, that has no brain activity. And I want to thank everyone for joining in this live on today. But I wanted to address something with Miss Priss. She was talking about, how our Black men and women are being taken by drugs, stress, and police brutality. And that's so true. And one of the things that, that I want to start working on, and believe me, I'm going to try my best to do so, um, is trying to see how a bill can be written when it comes to women actually, and this is a different topic now, uh, lying on men and saying men have sexually assaulted them and raped them, and then our men they're falsely accused, such as the R. Kelly situation, and even look at Bill Cosby, where these women make up stuff and they get settlements, and then even this man, I did a video yesterday on a man that served 44 years in prison, and it was intentional suppressed evidence, and the police knew that he was innocent, but they pushed it through, and he was convicted, and he just got out, and he was talking about how they only want to give him $750,000, which is a cap, but yet and still the law says that they have to give $50,000 for every year that the person serves that's incarcerated. So they owe him more money, and so he's going to challenge that and hope to fight that to get what he is due from that law that they're trying to say that there's a cap on a law, but there's a law in place. This is how they do our Black men. Even after they've been wrongly convicted, they still want to suppress them. They still want to violate their rights and violate the laws And so I'm really trying to, I'm hoping to get some information. And my oldest brother, he's very wise. I have an older brother, and I'm going to be talking to him and getting involved with, with this particular thing on how to get a bill out there, because I believe that women need to be held accountable when they lie on men. They shouldn't be allowed to walk away after it's been determined that they have lied because they were scorned or heartbroken or they didn't get what they wanted. And I've been following I've been following thank you, Georgia girl. I've been following the Deshaun Watson thing, and I'm not I really I have another blogger that I send information to, that I respect highly. And so I've been saving them and sending them to her because I know that she's going to do, when she gets an opportunity, probably another a live or video, whatever she's going to do. I don't know, but I've been keeping her up to date, and she's thanked me for that, because when I look at these women, if you all don't know that 18 women came out and wrote something positive on behalf of Mr. Deshaun Watson. They wrote something positive. And so when I look back over the things, the articles I've been following, uh, I believe that these women that are accusing him, okay, I wasn't there, okay, but I still believe in the presumption of innocence into proven guilty. And even with that being said, sometimes our men, black men, are convicted even when they're still innocent. Okay, so these women, I believe, if you are a professional masseuse, and I'm going to say this, if you're a professional masseuse, there are options that you are supposed to give your client, and you can either work with a towel or with sheets. I do know that. And when they came out and tried to say, well, he wanted a towel around him, that has nothing to do if he sexually assaulted someone or not. They have a choice. And we always have to look at self-determination. A client, no matter what field, no matter what, as a client, no matter what it is, you have a right to self-determination. If you go to therapy, you have a right to decide what's best for you, even in treatment. If you go and get a massage, you have a right to determine if you want to put a towel on you or sheets. It's your level of comfort. If you go and get your nails done and they want to recommend this and you say, no, I don't want that, you still have that right. And I'm just using examples, but you do have that right to self-determination. And so, when they try to build these cases, this is what we have to see, is that they take words and they try to build cases around words. And a towel, to build a case around a towel and say, well, he wanted a towel on him, so that makes him guilty of sexual assault because he wanted to see it. That doesn't make anybody guilty because he chose to have a towel around him. It was his level of comfort zone. So, they take these little they take words and try to build cases, around it. And I'm even starting to believe. Let's just have a little chat here. I know I said, but I wasn't going to keep you long. But let's just have a little chat for the ones that still can be here or listening in. They try to build these cases around words, and they try to make things illegal that are legal. Like, I mean, let's look at let's look at adultery and fornication. We know that the Bible says that it's better to marry than to burn. We know that God does not, he doesn't condone fornication and adultery. And when you're married, you're supposed to take your marital vows serious, and you're supposed to, you're supposed to honor your husband and honor the wife, and you belong to each other. You know what I mean? And you're not to step outside the marital bed. And when it comes to fornication, we know that it's better to marry than to burn. And so it almost seems like that these women are upset because if a man in general, and this is not Deshaun Watson in per se, but if a man decides to sleep with different women, and you got this Me Too movement out here, well, we want to stop them from doing that, and they try to use these little, they use these words to try to build a case around it and try to make it sound illegal. Then you get public opinion and social media and all of that in, and all of a sudden, oh, well, we need to stop this person. But fornication and adultery is not illegal in the United States, and we need to understand that. And so when you have these women out here getting angry because a man may be sleeping or just dating different women and all of that, that doesn't make it illegal just because you might have thought, well, he's with me. Well, if a man's going to take you out on a date, he probably is going to, most men is going to treat you very well, but that doesn't mean that you are the only woman. You have to understand that a date is just a date. That's what it is. It's a date. Until you enter into an actual courtship where you want to be exclusive, a monogamous relationship, and it's just you and that person, you know, you are just on a date. And then on top of it, even if you are deciding to go into a relationship, you know, a monogamous relationship, and one of the partners breaks the vows of that, you can move forward and move on. But nobody should be, you know, convicted on you know, public opinion or, you know, or social media opinions that are out there on all these different platforms. And we have to look at laws. And I think that a lot of times, you know, people lack knowledge because they don't look at real laws, and you hear words, these trigger words. I call them trigger words. You know, they use these trigger words to build a case around what they feel, you know, around this person. Then all of a sudden, this person sexually assaulted them. This person did this and this person did that. And a lot of times, these women are misinformed because they start talking about it. They don't go to the police when it happened, if it really did happen. They don't go and get checked out if it was rape or sexual assault by force. You know, they don't. They go talk to their friends or family members, and all of a sudden they got all these opinions. Girl, you should go, or, you know, you should go say that they did this and did that, you know, and all of these different things. But at the end of the day, I have to ask, what part did these women play in it? What part did they play in it? Did they, what accountability is it for them, when it comes down to it? They have to be accountable too. And I think that that's very important, when it comes down to accountability. Women have to be accountable for their actions also, and protect yourselves, and if you're not comfortable with something, then don't do it. Nobody should be doing anything that they're not comfortable with. I don't care how much the man or the person, woman, whoever have money. I don't care about all that. If I'm not comfortable with you, then guess what? Then I'm not going to do it, because you can't place a dollar amount on me. So if I don't want to sleep with you, I don't care how much money you have. If I don't want to sleep with you, I don't care that, because see, when it comes down to me and who I am as a woman, money cannot measure me and the value on my life and who I am. And I'm gonna keep it real, because let me tell you something. At the end of the day, if you do things that make you uncomfortable, you're probably gonna regret it later on, and you're gonna feel bad about it. How many people that you've talked to, like female friends, that have woke up and said and felt bad because they slept with a man, and it really wasn't even worth it, even the dinner and all of that, movie or whatever, because back in the day, dinner and movie was the thing, right? It wasn't worth it. You wake up and you go, and then you see that that's all they really wanted. And it's like, you slept with them for a dinner and movie. I can buy my own dinner. That's at the end of the day, I can buy my own dinners. I don't need no man to buy no dinner for me if it's gonna go down like that. I don't need a man to take me to the movies if it's gonna go down like that. At the end of the day, I want respect, and I'll respect you. I want you to value me as a person, as a woman. And that's what we need to do, is start valuing ourselves. No amount of money, a purse, and all that Birkin bags and whatever else you got going on, that can't measure up to you and your self-respect and the value of yourself. You're worth every bit of it. And God says that you're worth it. So you have to know your worth. And if you feel like you need to have those things, get a job, work hard towards it, and buy the things that you want to enjoy when it comes to material things. But you don't have to have a man to be buying you material things and to have lose your self-respect over some material things that are going to soon go away. And that's true, Harlem. And this is an interesting story. I was at a party some years back, and one of the ladies that I was talking to, she told me that, well, if a man is buying, then yeah, I'm not going to I'm not going to turn down a free dinner. And she said she goes to these dinners, and then if she doesn't like the guy, if it doesn't go her way or it doesn't go well, and she doesn't like the guy, she tells him she has to go to the restroom. Hi, Miss AP, how you doing? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you, and so peace and love to you. I haven't seen you in so long. But she was telling me that if she doesn't like a guy after she's had dinner, she gets up and goes to the restroom and doesn't go back, ghosting them, as they call it, right? And so we were talking to her, me, her, and her sister, and we were like, you're going to get caught up one day, and some guy is not going to play that game with you. And so it's like you telling me that you feel like because it's a free dinner, like they're buying. That's what I'm saying. We were looking at her like, you can pay for your own dinner. You work, you have a good job. And her sister was like, yeah, you have a good job. She said, I don't agree with that. And this is her sister. Her oldest sister told her, I don't agree with that. You're going to get hurt one day doing that. And that's exactly what her sister told her. And we were like, yep, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't disrespect a man like that. If this man is taking you to dinner, maybe he wants to get to know you, but you get a free meal and you go to the restroom and you ghost him. And then women want to know, well, how come some men don't, they're dating outside of their race, black men, and they don't respect us? Well, you got to consider the source. What part did you play in it? What part did you play in the situation? And that's the thing that we have to look at. Yeah, that's not good. She's going to get real hurt one day, Prince. Absolutely. And it's like, what part did you play in this, man? Why are you doing that? Why would you even do somebody like that? I don't think that's a great idea. I think it's horrible. And I just don't think that you need to even do that. And I just feel like we as Black women have to have self-respect about ourselves. And we need to take comfort in knowing that God's got us, and and that we can walk in confidence, and and take care of ourselves. And I think you'll get more respect from men when you do that. And if a man is not willing to respect you, walk away. Don't entertain all of that nonsense, because it's not worth that. Because if you're looking for a man, let me tell you something. If you're looking for a man, you might find the wrong thing. But if you turn it over to Jesus, Jesus can bless you with someone that's compatible to you, that's equally yoked with you. But also, we have to look at how we carry ourselves, and I see a lot of women, I would say, that's not conservative when it comes to their dress and their attire. And that's their business. What they do and how they dress is their business, but you can still look good, and you don't have to, showing everything. So a lot of men that I talk to, because I grew up with seven brothers, no sisters. And a lot of my brothers too, they want a woman that has self-respect about themselves. At the end of the day, they want a woman that has self-respect about themselves, that carries them with self-respect, and that they are a go-getter, and that they know how to manage a home, and they know how to take care of their family. And that's what a lot of men really do want, especially Black men. They do value that. But society has distorted a lot of stuff and taken prayer out of schools, and they trying to destroy the nuclear family, and they want the nuclear family to just vanish. But we have to stand up and fight that, we believe in the nuclear family and heterosexual relationship. Then we got to stand firm on what we believe in. And no, we're not homophobic. No, we're not haters. We love everybody as God has loved us, and so he has loved the church. But we still have a right to speak our voices when it comes down to what our rights are as heterosexual beings and cisgender women and cisgender men that have been born, biologically born. And I don't know, but I'll share this story with you. I was on another platform some weeks ago, and there was a transgender on there, and she actually said we as cisgender women, which are biologically born women, was the result. We are responsible for heterosexual men citing violence on them. And that's not true. That she was so misinformed and living in delusion that she was delusional. First of all, we don't have time to be citing violence or encouraging heterosexual men to do it. And one of the things she said is that she had a, put it like this, she had a penile inverted vaginoplasty. Okay, so science tells us that's what it is, but she was arguing that it wasn't, which it is. So she was really misinformed. Okay. uh all right, Harlow. All right. See you next time. See you on another platform. And she was very misinformed. She also was saying, saying that she messes with heterosexual men. And we told her, well, they told her on the platform is that uh, they're they're not heterosexual if they're messing with you and they know it. Now, if they don't know it, because she did say that she doesn't tell them and she didn't feel the need to tell them, which is wrong because you're deceptive and that's considered rape. If you are not telling, being truthful about your sexuality, then you are misleading that person and they cannot make an informed decision about wanting to be with you. Now, if they choose to go ahead after you share it with them, that's different. They are bisexual. But if they are heterosexual men and you did not tell them and they don't know, then that is considered rape. And we're just trying to tell her that. And she was like so hateful and she was arguing and she was cursing and attacking everybody. And even a person, this woman that was a lesbian, she said the same thing. She said, you can't do that. That's wrong. She said, and then she tried to say that she knew about womanhood. You could never know about womanhood because she was born a man, and she's been taking these hormones and all of that. And she had it's post-op, you know what I mean? So it's like, we have to stand for what we believe in. And if we believe in heterosexual relationships and we believe in the nuclear family, then we have to stand for that. We have to stand for what we believe in and what is right. And we cannot let them silence us and take that away from us. And that's the truth. I mean, and we see that we can't believe all women, like we can't believe all men, but we can't believe all women because we've seen time after time after time that now these women, the trend is, or this is the thing now, is to get a gathering of a whole bunch of people to jump on a bandwagon and what you're saying to try to convict people in uh, public, media, public, on these public platforms. And that's not the law. And we have to keep on talking about it. This is not the law. The law is in a court of law. You can't sit here and keep on doing this and we supposed to just go along with you. I can't go along with that kind of stuff. Again, people have a right to due process. And black men have, their rights have been violated so much. And I understand how it can get so trying and disheartening because I've even felt, felt the burden of dealing with it and talking about it. And it gets hard sometimes. And sometimes we have to take a break away from the chaos because it gets hard hearing these stories over and over and over. And now you have a transgender person trying to paint a narrative that heterosexual women are responsible for the violence and assault on them, and that's not true. And that's the biggest lie that she is painting, and we cannot allow that. We can't be silent on that. We have to speak out about that because we are not sitting around worrying about them or even thinking about that. We have our own things to do. We have our families to take care of. Some of us are in school trying to graduate so that we can be better for our communities, better for our families, so that we can be able to teach and teach correctly. Knowledge is powerful, and I stand on that. And I've been going to school on and off, and it's a good thing to keep learning and to keep growing so that we can help other people in our community. We can help children. We can be better teachers, better followers, better leaders, because in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. And so it's so important that we do things that are going to build up the Black community, that we work with the people in the community and stand up for what is right and try to, change laws, change these laws. And it take all of us as a people. But you know what? When we look at God, we always think about the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. But if one strong voice and somebody comes after and after and after, let me tell you something, we can get it done. We can get it done, and so it's important to have our voices and to use our voices. And I think that's very important. And the last thing, there's so much to talk about, but the last thing was about King Randall and how Mr. Martin tried to disrespect him and go there. And I looked at that and I said, this young man is doing what God called him. So let me say this. because I did that on another video, but walk in your purpose. And if God has called you for a purpose, a specific purpose, walk in your purpose. Don't give up the purpose that God has already ordained for your life. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Sometimes we may get discouraged, but go in prayer when you get discouraged. Talk to people that's going to support you, that's going to surround you and lift you up, that's going to help you, that's going to help you with information. Get involved with people like that. We don't have time for the haters and the naysayers. We don't have time for any of that. Hi, JJ. Are you new to the chat? I've not seen you before. So I don't know what RIPP means. What does that mean? Is it? I mean, I know what RIP as in rest in peace means, but um, I'm not sure what the whole thing is. But anyway, um, thank you. I love you too, Miss AP. But so don't ever let nobody take you away from your purpose. And then because we have to defeat doubt, and we have to know where the doubt comes from. Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and to try to put doubt in your mind and try to take you away from the real purpose that God has already ordained for your life. We have to recognize it, and we have to move forward, because when you and continue to walk in the purpose that God has given you, then guess what? You're going to get the victory. They're messing with my connection. I saw that, but you're going to get the victory when you stand and walk in your purpose. And so I want to leave you with that today. God bless you all on today for tuning in on this video with me on this live. I appreciate you all. I'll probably see you out there on the streets, and much love to you. I hope you have a very blessed, peaceful, and fabulous weekend. God bless you all. Bye.